the couch and fuck the gym, man. That's not happening.
Right,
But
right. Well,
nah,
I can actually smoke weed and do just about anything, and that brings me to a quick stopping point. I'm sorry to cut you off, but tonight's show, speaking of marijuana, is brought to you
brought to you by
by
weed.
Marley's Mellow. Well, sort of. It's brought to you by Marley's Mellow Mood, all natural relaxation drink. If you have not tried these yet, you need to find them at your local store. They are available all throughout all of the weed, municipal marijuana legal states, I do believe, and a few
Hmm.
extras through there. If you're ever in the Kentucky, Indiana area and you get in some trouble, everybody knows that sometimes life just happens. And when it does, you have to have an attorney on your side, whether it's divorce, bankruptcy, you get caught with a little joint in your pocket, and maybe a couple of pills you don't have in the right bottle or whatever, give this guy a call, Timothy Dennison. He will most definitely represent you and do a very good job at that. 877-337-2149. You can find him at www.timdennisonlaw.com. And he is located at Suite 320 Republic Plaza in Louisville, Kentucky. Again, that number is 877-337-2149. Now that the bills are paid,
Oh yeah, no, Denison's the shit, dude. He hooked me up. So, I mean, it's all good.
awesome, awesome. Oh, you actually know my lawyer. Wow, that's awesome. All
Okay,
right,
nah, he's my boy.
all right.
Kept me
So,
out of the Kentucky raping jail.
uh, awesome. Okay, so you were actually talking about Sammy and smoking weed and going to the gym and
Oh yeah,
um,
Sammy, incredible performer. We honestly had a bit of a strange dynamic because through much of the time that I worked with him during our feud, I really didn't like him, and I don't think he probably liked me a whole lot. I mean, this is not anything new. He's fully aware of this. We did not start off well, and the first match we ever had, like, I was warned that that you need to calm him down a little bit because he gets a little overexcited, and then like I'm like, oh, he seems to be fine. We put everything together, and then somewhere in there, like, we were trading forearms, and he like threw like a random like stray left eye or left jab to my eye or something.
oh God,
Yeah, and it really made me angry. So then we had to fight a little bit, and then we were kind of like at odds for a while. But I felt like we had pretty good matches, and then throughout the course of it, I came to get to know Sammy's unique characteristics and proclivities, and over the course of time, I've come to like him quite well, and now we are. I would say we are friends, and I hang out with him on a semi-regular basis. So it all worked out in the end. There's a happy ending there. But interestingly enough, like during the time that we were feuding, right up until maybe shortly before Cage of Death, I think Cage of Death we were more or less on the same page, and we just wanted to kill it. But there were a few matches there where like we both wanted to put on a good show and entertain, but there was also a little bit of animosity, which maybe it led to the the anger in the ring being a little more believable. Not that obviously I had the hatred or animosity I did toward him in character, but there was just a little bit of tension between us that I think kind of made the angle more believable. You know what I mean? We kind of played off of each other, and then, as I said, like in the end, we ended up, we're fairly good friends now. So.
well, it's very commendable to both of you guys to, have that kind of animosity and still be able to work a program together. Too often times, we find that when there's heat, guys don't want to even be in the same locker room with somebody they dislike, such as the case right now for me and quite a few people in the state that I live in. But, but was that experience, being in the locker room and having that animosity, did it hinder your ability to be able to work your matches out previous to, or did you all just go out there and kind of do it and kind
No,
of
I
let the
mean,
emotions take you?
I don't want you to think that there wasn't heat to the extent where like we were angry with each other or
Right.
incredibly obnoxious or impolite to each other. It was just like there was just like a little bit of tension there. But I honestly think it kind of made the matches better because I think both of us kind of said like, all right, well, we both have the same goal here. We want to put on a good match, and we want to have an entertaining feud, and we want people to buy into this, you know? But it also kind of gave us that little bit of edge where, like, all right, if I hit this guy pretty fucking hard, I'm not going to feel too bad about it. You know what I mean? Like, there's not going to be any real, like, guilt complex where I have to apologize afterward. You know, like, oh, sorry, I threw a stiff one out there. You know what I mean? So, like, we kind of just wailed on each other, and I think the matches were better for it, honestly, in hindsight. And like I said, you know, we turned out getting along pretty well, so it wasn't like it really drove a wedge between us. Actually, I think it kind of bonded us because he was not initially comfortable with a lot of deathmatch type stuff because that wasn't what he wanted to do. But he stepped up to the plate and did it, and I mean that earned my respect. And you know, so I think in the end it all turned out fine, probably.
Awesome. Let's fast forward, or rather rewind a little bit. You have been with Combat Zone for quite some time. You've been there both
month and 6 years this month.
6 years this month. So you were actually there for the John Zandig era and the DJ Hyde era, rather. What were your feelings when the initial change came into effect? I mean, there's a lot of stories about Zandig. Some people dislike him. Some people didn't have a problem with him. What was your take on the whole situation?
Okay. All right. Yeah, my honest take. I did not dislike Zandig personally. On a personal level, he has been good to me, and he did some things that I will forever remember fondly. He sort of championed my cause as, you know, Danny Havoc as wanting to be a wrestler, a CZW guy, once he kind of found out what I wanted to do, because John had a soft spot in his heart for blood and guts deathmatch guys. You know what I mean? Like, as soon as he realized that that's what I wanted to do, and that I was determined and eager, he was like, all right, well, I'm going to kind of get behind this guy. And, you know, I will never forget that he had my back on that. Didn't particularly like him as a boss. Not a personal thing, but I feel like he was stuck in his ways, and he was very disinterested in taking on new ideas. He burned a lot of bridges. I guess probably because he had that sort of like old school angry Jersey mob guy mentality. You know, not that he's a mob guy, but he had the sort of mentality where, like, you know, don't fuck with me. I'm the biggest. I'm the best. My company's the best. And even if, you know, even if they weren't, that was his attitude. He went into it like CZW was the world, and everything else needed to cater to us or them at the time, you know, before I was here. And he ended up burning a lot of bridges that way because he couldn't see that CZW needed to play ball with other companies, and then everybody would benefit. He just thought other companies need to cater to us, and CZW will benefit. And I think in the long run that was a big mistake because he ended up burning so many bridges in the course of his tenure as boss, you know. And but he was a decent guy. Just didn't particularly like him as a boss. He didn't like his business ethics and so on. But regardless, as far as the transition to DJ, I'd known DJ for years. Of course, he was like my initial trainer, my initial experience with, you know, being taught how to wrestle and stuff with DJ and Dahmer and Sabian and this sort of like crew of people. And so I've known DJ for years, and we had a sort of a special love-hate relationship where, like, he was good to me sometimes, and I loved him for that, but then other times he would throw guardrails on my head and be completely unsafe and reckless, and I hated him for that. So yeah, I think it was probably more of a hate-hate relationship until he took over the company, and then he started really doing right by me. So we've sort of bonded over him making up for the error of his ways prior to that, when he just beat the hell out of me as a rookie. But anyway, so like, yeah, I had moved to Wisconsin somewhere in the middle of 2008. and Zandig and the company, as was at the time, had told me that they were going to continue using me on a regular basis because I was a CZW guy and I didn't need to worry about my job, and they'd make it work. And I understand times are tough, money is tight, but they said this to me before I moved, which assuaged all my fears that I was going to lose this dream of mine. They said, all right, we're going to make sure you're here. And then they made sure I was there for a couple months, and then it was like, oh, well, next month, we don't really have the money to bring in. The month after that, we don't really need you, but, 2 months down the road, we'll bring it back. And then, there was, 2 or 3 different, 2-month stretches where they just weren't bringing me in, and they had agreed to this before I left, or they had volunteered it. They hadn't agreed to it. That would imply that, I was asking, because they had volunteered. All right, well, we're not going to just forget about you because you're moving. And I was really salty about that. It really rubbed me the wrong way. So actually, the show that DJ took over, I think it was Tangled Web 2. I think that was when they announced the transition. And I actually came into that show fully intending to quit if something didn't change. I just came in with a bad mood, a bad attitude. I'd come from La Crosse, Wisconsin, to a 3.5-hour drive to Milwaukee to get on a bus for 2 hours to Chicago, and another bus for 4 hours to Indianapolis, to ride in a van for 12 hours to get to a show where I hadn't been in a couple months, and I was just fucking pissed, and I was like, all right, this isn't worth my time anymore. And DJ said, he took me aside, he said, look, I don't know if you've heard, but I'm announcing tonight, I'm taking over the company. I'm going to do right by you. I'm going to make sure you're here. He said, all I need from you is just be here and do what you do, and give me a chance. And I gave him a chance, and, I'm not saying that DJ doesn't do a lot of things that piss me off, or I don't think he fucks things up, but he has done right by me since he took over, and I respect that, and I appreciate that, and that's why I'm still in Combat Zone right now. That was a long spiel. I'm not sure if you're still there. Hello? No, I looked at my phone to make sure that, somewhere in the middle of that long tirade that I hadn't just completely lost the call. I'm like, oh, that's embarrassing. And
actually, my dog started barking, so I muted my microphone and forgot that I was on mute. So, such professionalism here on Real Side of Wrestling. Let me tell you, we're so wonderful.
Oh yeah, what kind of dog you got?
I have a chocolate lab and a mutt.
Nice.
So, and the lab's great. He won't bark unless the mutt barks, and once the mutt barks, then you can't shut neither one of them up.
That's the way it is, man. Those crossbreeds get you all riled up.
Yeah, it's crazy. I don't know. So, I want to touch on a bit of a personal subject here, and I've touched on this with quite a few people. What are your thoughts on the Ohio wrestler incident, rather, where the young man apparently tested positive for HIV, and now
somebody told me about this the other day. I actually didn't know about this until 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
I guess it's been news for a month or two, but I didn't know about it until last time I was at a wrestling show. I don't really go on the message boards anymore because they mostly just depress me because everybody's cynical and shitty. So one of the best things that I ever did for my life was to sort of cut myself off from those. Mm-hmm. But then I find that I miss out on a lot of little juicy tidbits like this.
Mm-hmm. Well, what are your thoughts, being that you do a lot of deathmatch wrestling, and obviously with scares of hepatitis C going around quite a lot, and now this coming out where he was HIV positive, he was working death matches, and nobody knew this until one of his sexual partners tested positive and then blew the whistle. So does that give you reason to kind of be leery at doing some of these matches?
it gives me a lot of reason to be leery. I mean, if I didn't feel that